Shabbat Shalom. It's great to have you with us on this rainy evening. So today we were back to 2 Shabbat experiences instead of 3 because we didn't have an outdoor service, which turned out to be the right call. Had it been sunny right now, I wouldn't be drawing attention to that. Exactly. But so yes, a little bit of rain. And remember however much the rain brings us down, it's really good for our lawns and our reservoirs and all those other parts of Texas. Well, we will miss it later. So our spring showers hopefully bring us a little bit of Shabbat joy, even if it's a darker day right now. It's good to have you with us on this Shabbat, on this, the 20th day of the Omer, the 20th day of the counting from the freedom and the crossing of Passover to the receiving of Torah in 30 days on Shavuot when we arrive at that Sinai experience. And so on this Shabbat tonight, we turn to welcoming Shabbat. A reminder that if you're following in a prayer book, there are 2 sets of numbers depending on your book, and we're calling out the page numbers in brackets. As always, you can turn to the link that's on every weekly e-blast to pull up our virtual prayer book and to go to the little box and put in page numbers, or you can just listen and join in with us, or you can probably use any prayer book if you know your way around. I am here with John Sauvey and Hans Grimm, and we have Carl in the back making sure the service gets to you streaming. We want to thank him. My name is Rabbi Brian Zimmerman. This is Fort Worth. This is Beth-El congregation if you are visiting. And we are welcoming Shabbat on page 120 with the lighting of candles, the blessing over wine, and the blessing over bread. Join us as we receive Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with courage and goodness and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
And we continue with the sweetness of Shabbat.
Page 123, join me in the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kosho be'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra kodesh zeh יציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. And we have not had dinner yet, but you might have dinner in front of you at home. So on our, yes, we do have the constantly renewing Untitled Shabbat challah. In the manna from heaven, if you are home right now on our behalf, pull out your challah or pull out your Triscuits or pull out your chocolate chip cookies or your gluten-free whatever, or your leftover matzah, and lift it up and join with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you for remembering, Rabbi.
Oh, yes.
It slipped my mind.
And we come to Kabbalat Shabbat, an entire section of the service with a series of prayers. This section of the service, a 16th century Kabbalistic introduction in which Shabbat is the bride and we are the groom and we come to seek God. Before we turn to Kabbalat Shabbat and one of the prayers of longing, a word about relationships as we try to see our relationships mirrored in our relationship with God, the relationships we have with our family, our community, our own immediate family, our children, our parents, our friends, our schools, all of these relationships which are mirrored in our relationship with God in the Kabbalah Shabbat service. Our Torah portion, which has moved from one of the most dreaded to one of the most beloved in 1 year, is Tazria Metzora, a double portion. And if you want any evidence that the rabbis had questionable feelings about this portion, certain years, certain Torah portions are doubled up. So instead of one for that week, there are two in order to make it work in the cycle of the year. That's it. These two portions are always the first to be doubled up. Now, why might they double up these two portions? Because Tazria Metzora speaks about the rules for removing someone from the camp for impurities, so that they may become purified and re-enter. Now, what might be examples in Tazria and Metzora? What types of defilement? There is this plague of mold that takes over the home. The home has to be scraped and demolished or cleansed. There is impurity from the blood of childbirth. There is impurity from leprosy. So this Torah portion deals with all kinds of impurities that the Israelites don't quite understand, but the high priest, who is part doctor, part shaman, comes in and purifies, removes the afflicted thing or the afflicted person from endangering the community. You can imagine that last year this was everybody's favorite portion. It went from being the least loved to the most loved because of COVID and the sudden isolation we were all forced to impose upon us. This year, I think we're all tired of Tazria Metzora, and we'd like to relegate it back. But what I would like to spend a moment on is not the role of the isolation that removes the person, but the role of integration back into the community. Because it is the role of the priest not to make someone an outcast. It is the role of the priest to help that person find a safe way into the community and to help them become purified in return. The goal is to bring the afflicted person past. What we often don't focus on, unless we read this Torah portion really closely, is that it's a partnership. There is certainly the holy person, the priest, the one who says what you have is infectious or isn't, or the mold in your house is actually something that will spread or isn't. But the partner in the process is the one with the afflicted home, or the one who has the affliction. They have steps they need to do with their own cleanliness, their own body, their own offerings that show they are ready to return to the community. Returning from isolation is an important step. The community, holy figures like the priest, our temples, our schools, our governments, every welcoming community has a role to play to open the doors to the isolated. But Tazria Metzora makes it clear there's also a role for the person who has isolated themselves. And as we focus on this portion, we have to think about cases of isolation, of Mitzorayim, of the one who is isolated. Now, to clarify, I'm not talking about people who have health fears. I'm not talking about people who have phobias of large groups. I'm not talking about introverts versus extroverts, which is its own conversation. I'm talking about the person who has made themselves a Mitzorayim, the person who has self-imposed on themselves a type of isolation. Not just during COVID, but potentially was living as an isolated person before COVID. And as we begin to return to life, we find there are those who can't wait to get in line to get their shot and jump out. We know those who are kind of in the middle, and we know there are those who are like, I'm never leaving my house. But let's put aside health concerns for a moment. Let's talk about the person who consciously or unconsciously has chosen to live in a state of isolation. To be emotionally or socially Mitzorayim, even sometimes when they're not aware of it. So we're not blaming the victim here. There are people who do this who don't know they do it. I'd like to take a moment to think about types of Mitzorayim, types of outcasts that existed before COVID and will exist after. The person who harbors a grudge, who has been pained but chooses not to share that pain. COVID certainly made it easier. If we're not seeing anybody, it's very easy to let that pain simmer and to let it grow and to say, I'm not going to share with them what I'm experiencing, and I'm not going to give them the chance to let me in. We make ourselves an outcast with family or friends. We know we might get hurt if we open the door, but we've chosen not to give them a chance to help bring us back into a relationship. There is the person who lives on social media and presents the wonderful life, which is not to say that some of the people on social media don't have picture-perfect lives, but the people who present themselves as a picture-perfect life on social media because they feel they're expected to look that way. And if they were to share some of their pain, somehow they would be less. And they make themselves an outcast because their friends look and say, they've got the perfect life. They were the first one to go on vacation. Their kids are great. Everything is great in their life. Because they feel burdened, they cannot share their pain. And by presenting a picture-perfect life, they're not letting anyone in to help bring them out of their pain and walk towards a step of healing, whether it's physical, emotional, social. And there is, most interestingly and appropriate for now, the people who make themselves outcasts to their own family or friends because they make themselves as busy as they can, not because they like being busy. Some people need to always be busy. They live in a state of busyness because if they were to stop for a moment, they would come face to face with their own fears or unresolved issues. And maybe they do it consciously, and maybe they do it unconsciously. For them, COVID may have been the worst because suddenly they were stuck at home, forced to confront fears, losses, challenges that were covered up by never stopping. Painful conversations or questions with loved ones, with family or friends, conversations that being busy helps them to avoid. And the challenge for all of these groups is that coming back to a busier life means an opportunity to return to what was, even if what was far from perfect. Rabbi Jeffrey Dennis, in his wonderful Devar Torah in the Texas Jewish Post this week, giving my friend in Denton a shout out, Flower Mound, reminds us that as we return to our old lives, we must do more than get back to where we were before COVID hit. If we only return to what was, we've taken nothing away from this. But if in some way we can increase our awareness and grow, not that something good comes out of this, but some growth can come out of this. We are in, as I said, that period from Passover to Shavuot. We are in that period from crossing the sea to getting Torah. And some Jews look at this period, this time of counting in Omer, which is a measure, as a chance to measure ourselves. Not to beat ourselves up, not to punish ourselves, but to say before we get to Mount Sinai, can we increase our awareness so that we can grow in some new way? The isolation of this year has been terrible. The question is, are we rushing to what was, or can we grow into what can be? And for those of us for whom COVID provided an opportunity to avoid the ways we have engaged, because we have chosen intentionally or unintentionally, consciously or subconsciously, to make ourselves Mitzorayim, outcasts from those around us. As others are ready to welcome us, a family member who doesn't know they have offended us, a conversation with a spouse or partner or sibling that we have avoided facing, hard truths in our lives by being busy, a perfect life on social media that we present because to admit that we are broken is to admit defeat. However we make ourselves a Mitzorayim, we have a chance in this period of counting to Shavuot to ask ourselves as we return to society, is there a way that we can be a little more open about what we need to do? So that the welcoming hand of our community, our family members, our teachers, our clergy, our friends, can extend a hand and welcome us in a way that is truly meaningful. As we turn to Kabbalat Shabbat, Yedid Nefesh is a 16th century prayer that is different than Shalom Aleichem. It is different than Lecha Dodi. It speaks of a longing. You can hear it in the voice and any tune that has been composed in the words. Oh, heart's delight, God, my lover, my presence, I leap to come near you. I pray that next week I will be closer than this week. You can hear in Yedid Nefesh not only a Shabbat song, but a Shabbat song of a partner longing to be reunited with God, feeling lonely, feeling empty, hoping the week to come will provide a chance of renewal. The rabbis and the Jews who sang Yedid Nefesh over the centuries did not present where they were. They presented where they wanted to be as a prayer for the coming week in all their most meaningful relationships.
Yedid Nefesh av Rachman, Yedid Nefesh av Rachman, Meshok avdecha, Eretz onecha, Meshok avdecha, Yalai lai 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 Eretz onecha, Yarutz avdecha, Gemoya, Ishtachavei, lai 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 emul haderecha.
Heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. We leap like a deer to stand in awe before you. As we turn to page 144, may our Shabbat bring us closer to you as we look to the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, מעלמד יברא קירותיו ימליך מלכותי, בחי יכונו יום יכון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעולם ועד מעלמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעלמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, נמירן בעלמה, ויאמרו Amen.
O God, we beg, let our desire be so strong that it will tear the veil that keeps you from our sight. Let your light release our darkness and reveal your glory and joy, the joy of your presence. On 146, we rise, if able, for the Baruch Hu.
Baruchu et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due, now and forever.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvidvuna mishane eitim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmeroteim bi'akir kirtzono. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates and thoughtfully alters the time, changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMa'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amecha Havta Torah umitzvot chukim umishpatim otanu limadeta Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amecha Havta Torah umitzvot chukim umishpatim otanu limadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shagveinu v'komeinu v'shagveinu v'komeinu anasi akbucheche ונשמע קריבי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו, חיינו, ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יונם בלילה. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty, forever and ever. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
If you are standing, you don't have to, but if you are standing at home, I probably ought to tell you can sit down now until we get to the Avot. We turn to page 159. How do we love God? How do we connect to God? Together. Love your God. Oh, that's okay. I was confused. Okay.
Jumped to Mika Mocha on page 158. I apologize.
We're not quite there yet, but we're almost there. Let's read together first or listen. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them in the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. No worries, we're here. And when is it a sermon, and when is it a reading, and when is it the intro to the next prayer? We've usually got it, but they have to sort of guess what I'm thinking sometimes.
Every now and again.
But we move from those ways we live and learn and do to the crossing of the sea. And we bridge the time from Passover to Shavuot as we turn to 158.
Mi chamocha pailim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, norata hilot hosef ele, norata hilot hosef ele, malechutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli, zeli, anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
We sing a song, the song of the joy of Shabbat, as we turn to page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת.
Histakalta hayom al hashamayim. Rabbi Dov Singer asks, have you looked at the skies today? A story of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, that a merchant and student of his ran to the marketplace to buy and sell. Rabbi Nachman said, did you look at the sky today? No. He called him to come close. What do you see? His student said, I see wagons and horses and people running back and forth. Rabbi Nachman said, 50 years from now, there will be a completely different fair in the marketplace. Different horses, different wagons, different people. I will not be here. You will not be here. So I ask you, he said to his student, did you not have time to look at the sky? To which Rabbi Singer says, we walk through this world with a quick step on a noisy road, on a crowded street. We move forward. Our thoughts race inside. And sometimes out of nowhere, our head looks above and sees a piece of sky, a ray of light, a cloud. And we remember suddenly, for the first time all week, there are skies above me. For a brief moment, perhaps this Shabbat, we are pulled out of life's race from the confusion and the futility. The skies stretch above us from horizon to horizon, reminding us of God's infiniteness. When something is stuck, when there is no way out, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We can, for just a moment, turn our eyes upward, look to the skies, discover the heavens, acknowledge that God is above us.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya-la-lai, lai-lai, 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 ya-la-lai, lai-lai. Adonai sefer tivtak, ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise, so I may declare your praise. La 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ha'norah El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei HaKol V'tzocher Chazdei Avot V'imahot U'mevi Gula Livnei V'nehem L'man Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia Mechakel Chaim B'chesed Mechayei HaKol B'rachamim Rabim Zomech Noflim V'rofei Cholim U'Ma'atir Asorim Umchaye Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevorot U'mido Melach Melech Memit Umchaye U'matzmiach Yeshua Ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaKol Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yelucha Sela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are praised you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the Holy God.
O God, you are with us in our prayer, our love and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt trembles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, or pain clouds our mind, we look to you to find courage, insight, to come closer to one another and to you. O God, bring us close.
El narefanela El narefanela El narefanela El narefanela Elohim zein b'shalva Lechabel ema shelo nitan leshanot Ve'elohim zein Ha'ot לשנות את מה שניתן לשנות ותן לי את החמה להכין בזה לזה אל נא רפנלה אל נא רפנלה אל נא רפנלה
El na rafanela, words from a different section of the Torah, relevant, important to this week, where Moses turns to God when his sister is struck with leprosy and says, "Oh God, please heal her. Help bring comfort." And so those words help us to prepare as we offer a prayer for healing, a prayer for strength for all who are in need. We mentioned Gordon Brody, Jeannie Long, Charlotte Fios, Stacy Lewis, Maria Schoen, Elliot Blumberg, Katrina Joy Rogers, Eddie Sankery, Mike Fox, Ann Westerman, William Westerman, Robert Bogan, Christopher Long, Karen Delavan, Kevin Delavan, Sherry Goldstein, Ariella Belikoff, Danielle Knust, Dee Steer, Robert Diamond, Bob Schmitz, Mimi Grossman, Fred Boyd, Evelyn Siegel, Brittany Elaine Drake, Judy Cohen, Len Anthony, Chazan Jeffrey Weber, Randy Koonsman, Ellen Jakowski, Rabbi Claudia Kogan, Rabbi Rob Nosenchuk, and all we may hold in our hearts in need of healing and wholeness. O God, we pray.
שברח אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who bless our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avraham, Yitzhak, v'Yaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
Page 586. We turn to Aleinu. If you wish, you can rise as we face the open ark.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו
We turn to page 598, almost 600. We think of those we have lost in this year and past years. We include those who died defending Israel on this week that offers both Yom HaZikaron, Israel's official day of remembrance for the fallen since the creation of the state, as well as Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day. And we add those who've passed away in this 30-day period of mourning, known as Shloshim. We mentioned Dr. Evan Hirsch, grandfather of Rachel Kornhorst. We mentioned Bruce Silverman, father of Vicky Ishka and Avi Silverman, husband of Vicky Silverman. We mentioned Walter Jock Smith, father of Julie Abrams. Jeffrey Marks, son-in-law of Karen and Leonard Furstenfeld. I want to mention, because several who tune in some weeks are from my old congregation in Tampa, the passing of David Rifkin, member of Beth-El in Tampa, Florida. David was a unique soul, a singular figure, a funny and passionate and caring man. He has not been yet laid to rest, but we mention his passing here. And the art cites the anniversaries of their deaths of Pauline Wittenberg, Bess Kupperman-Baum, Charles Bach, Berta Braum, Vera Braum, Charlie Ezekiel Cooper-Smith, Rose Cott, Dorothy Dubrow, Sarah Ekbar, Sheila Feinkopf, Alan Charles Finkelstein, Gus Flax, Ida Friedman, Sarah Roddy Goldberg, Hyman Jacob Goldstein, Walter Isaac Hochberg, Fanny Katz, Gertrude Kreitman, Morton A. Lewis, Estelle Max, Clarence Edwin Mayer, Anna Micklin, Elwood Minker, Mitzi Ogus, Ines Pachter, Ethel Paul, Fred A. Paul, Henry Rice, Ruby Richards, Catherine Ritz, Raymond Roper, Irma Rosenthal, Edward Rubenstein, Betty Schoenfeld-Bacchus, Akiva Schreiber, Jack Siegel, Jenny Silverman, Herman Solomon, Lynn Targ, Andreas Vogt, Mervyn Eugene Whale, Jeanette Zevin, and others we may keep close to our heart at this time as we join together. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, bi'almal divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei chon uv'yomei chon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'galal v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lomei al-maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalah shmei d'kudsha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiram bi'almal v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemai v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'mroma Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu v'al Kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. May God, who brings harmony and high, we pray, bring shalom, peace to us, to all who are in need, all Israel, and we say, Amen. As we turn to our closing song, thank you again.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And to all of you, a Shabbat Shalom. For those of you who rose and said, the rabbi never asked me to sit, guess what? Our closing song is Hatikva, Israel's national anthem. We offer this as a prayer. Our love for Israel transcends. It transcends elections, of which Israel has had 4 in 2 years. It transcends individual rulers, political parties. It transcends policies. It is the dream and the hope for Israel, the dream of our own land for 2,000 years. Page 678.
balevav pnimash nefesh Yehudi omiyash ulfate mizrach gadima ayin letzion Sophia od loved atikatenu adik babach nod alpaim liot am choshi me'artzenu Eretz Zion veYerushalayim liot am chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion veYerushalayim.
The hope of 2,000 years to be a free people in our land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. May Israel be strong. May Israel be a light to the world. And may we say,
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And happy Israel Independence Day. It was yesterday. Celebrate tonight if you didn't know. Shabbat Shalom.